All right, if I could have everybody's attention, we'll go ahead and get started. At any time you want, go ahead and continue to have beer, wine, and there's plenty of food over there. Welcome, February 5th, 2022, to the Hall of Fame and Hall of Honor inductions. This year we did something a little different. And because last year we did Zoom, we thought it would be really important to bring the inductees from last year back, because there's nothing like this as far as being representative of who we are for your guys' induction. So I'm very happy to be able to do this, and we did not induct a class for this year. So having said that, my name is Bob Grisham. I'm the Director of Athletics. And I'm going to have some fun with this, because I guess that's kind of the way I've been wired, is I enjoy what I do and I like to have fun. So first off, before I get started, I'd like to recognize Dr. Roy Hendricks here. If there are any members of our Board of Trustees, if you could stand up, please. If not, okay. Any members of the monastic community? Joel Longi, thank you. Stay standing. Any members of the President's Cabinet, if you're here today, go ahead and stand up. I'd also like to say thank you to Cecilia and Katie and the IA staff for helping put this together with the athletic department. A round of applause. And then David Crawford, who is our rec center director, multimedia director, has put together what I like to call a video timeline. It's not going to run 37 minutes or 3 hours, but a video timeline of what it's been here at St. Martin's for the past 37 years. I don't think there's been anything during my time that's been more challenging than the last 2 years, simply dealing with COVID and the amount of disruption that has occurred on campus, but specifically for athletics, the continued changes. My staff has done a tremendous job navigating through all of that. And I want all my coaches that are here right now to stand up, please. All coaches. And I've been really blessed to have a fantastic athletic department staff. So if all of my staff would stand up, some of them may be over there, but just stand up and be acknowledged, please. So despite everything that occurred the last 2 years, we did have highlights. For the first time in our school history, St. Martin's was recognized with receiving the Presidential Award of Academic Excellence. So 250 plus Division II schools, we were one of 43, and we were one of 6 on the West Coast. And that says a lot about our student athletes, definitely. It says a lot about our student athletes, our coaches, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention our faculty. We are definitely blessed with great collaboration with our faculty. And I would like to recognize our faculty athletic rep and my travel partner to Brazil on a student exchange, Dr. Stephen Parker. And I got to admit, I didn't think I was going to have that much fun in Brazil going with the chemistry prof. But I think he put me under a few times. The men's golf program. We were GNAC champions, finished second in the regionals, qualified to go to the national tournament, finished in the top 15. Tyler Fitchett was the individual champion at the GNAC, and Kevin Bishop was our Coach of the Year. And then for the first time ever on the women's golf side, Catherine Crimp was an individual champion for the GNAC. And really, I think for the first time since there's been a GNAC women's tournament, there was a runner-up from the same school, and that was Hoku Nagamani. So that was our women's golf. You talk about programs that are successful. Softball recorded their 10th winning season in the past 11 years. Coach Peterson, where are you at? Jim Peterson. And upcoming, we will have both our men's and women's basketball teams in the GNAC tournament, which is going to be March 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to be hosting that here at St. Martin's. There will be some games at Seattle Pacific, but we'll be hosting semis and the finals here. And then in May, 5, 6, and 7, we will be hosting the GNAC softball tournament. So that's really the highlights of what's occurred the past 2 years. And more than anything, this event has always been one of my favorite, if not the favorite event. So my opportunity to be recognized at the same time as these inductees are going to be honored today is definitely an honor and a privilege for me. So right now, I would like to have Prior Nicholas come up, please, and provide us the invocation.
Humility and asceticism are hallmarks of the Benedictine way of life. Asceticism is the spiritual discipline and way of life practiced by us monks to deepen our relationship with God and with one another. The word asceticism is derived from the ancient Greek, and it means training or exercise. And its original usage did not refer to the kind of self-denial typified by monastic life, but rather to the physical training required for athletic events. Success in both spiritual and athletic endeavors share that in common, that they both demand years of training, hard work, and sacrifice to achieve excellence. And on the road to excellence, there are many failures and many successes. And it's humility that protects us against pride and teaches us that ultimately our successes are due to our cooperation with God and His grace in our lives. As St. Benedict reminds us, writing, "These people fear the Lord and do not become elated over their good deeds. They judge it as the Lord's power, not their own, that brings about the good in them." And so in some ways, a hall of honor and a hall of fame is a little odd, but even so, although we must always be wary of puffing ourselves up with pride in our achievements and successes, if those very things are seen by others in the same spirit, namely that those successes are the work of the Lord, they can become pathways for others to deepen, through inspiration, empathy, and joy, their relations with God and with each other. And so it is that although St. Benedict warns us against pride and elevates humility as one of the highest virtues, he also gives the abbot the power to elevate monks in community rank, writing that he may set any of them above the place that corresponds to the date of their entry, if he sees that their life warrants it, so that others may learn from their example. And so it is for a similar purpose that we gather here today, to recognize the excellence of life and the achievements of these individuals whom we honor today, to elevate them above their normal rank and set them in a higher place among our saints' community, because we have seen in them an excellence of life and achievements made possible by a life of asceticism in every sense of that word. And in that spirit, we call upon God our Father to bless those we induct into our Hall of Honor and Hall of Fame today. Be with them, Lord, and bless them. Grant them continued growth and success in all their endeavors. Be with all of us also, and grant us similar success and growth in our lives. Help us to continue our tradition of educating the whole person here at St. Martin's University, so that we produce saints for the world who will be lights of your spirit and grace in all that we do. And we ask this through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Prior Nicholas. We're going to start first with the recognition of our Hall of Honor. And we had one individual and one team that was inducted. And I'd like right now to ask Gary Gerst come up to accept the plaque for Father Menrad. The driving force behind the idea of the Capitol Pavillion, now known as the Marcus Pavillion, it was a concept that became Father Menrad Gaul's goal. His vision was for creating a new place on campus for activities, sports, and community. He helped raise funds for the facility by having a fee system in place that was paid a quarter at a time. I think you're late. Come on up. That's going to cost. Proceeds went to the building fund. Marcus Pavillion still stands the time as his introduction to the Saints basketball and volleyball teams. He attended St. Martin's College from 1925 to 1927, later received a degree from St. Benedict's College, and in 1931, he joined the St. Martin's Abbey. He took his first vows as a Benedictine monk in 1932. He was an ordained priest in 1936, and for more than 45 years, he was a mainstay of the college. On behalf of Father Menrad, Gary Gerst.
And that applause is for Father Menrad. I'm wearing this in honor of my brothers and sisters from Hawaii who were here today, and one of whom was a distinguished alumnus. Yeah, I'm Gary Gerst. I graduated here in '71. I'm going to just step out. I'm going to make this quick. I have a firm limit of 5 minutes. In honor of my father, who attended St. Vincent's in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, the mother church of St. Martin's and others. So Father Menrad was my mentor. I knew Father Menrad as a history major, and I spent many hours in that office. Can you raise your hand if you have any memories of Father Menrad? Just looking around. Okay. Some called him a curmudgeon. He had a heart of gold. Anyway, I spent a lot of hours in his office along with other guys and gals, having coffee and donuts and getting scoldings and getting encouragement, and he was always caring. I knew that. A lot of bluster, but he was a softie. Anyway, in my senior year as a historiography class project, believe it or not, he made me read a history book and write a report, a summation, and all the relevant questions that flowed from the book on a 3x5 card. Try it. Try it someday. My fingers hurt for a week trying to. I invented size 2 font, so at any rate, I got an A on that one, and so I had a beer in my dorm room. Anyway, and then a year later, that dear man performed my wedding. So, got a soft spot. He was very religious about raising money. Sorry, couldn't help. He had a vision for what we call the Capitol Pav, or Pavillion, which we now call Marcus Pavillion. He had a dream. That was a big empty space there. He loved athletics, and he got that pavilion open in 1968. Wow. So in the early days, just some memories, in the early 60s, there were bootstrappers here. You know who you are. Anyway, the military folk, and then also the day dogs. You know what they are? The ones that didn't live in the dorms, they drove in. Anyway, but there was no place to buy coffee on campus if you weren't in the dorm. So Menrad saw a way to connect his plan with the need for coffee, and so he always had a hot pot in his office, and for a quarter, you put it in this thing. This has been repurposed for the library, but this is it. This is the box that many of us spent many times putting money into for that coffee, the donuts, and all that. Yeah, seems like I spent a lot of money. I didn't realize that. But anyway, and I see him now as the campus Starbucks before there was a Starbucks. Okay. He was a stickler for protocol. Oh, man, was he a stickler for protocol. And the one that used to get under his skin, and I never thought of it before, is he didn't like the word kids. And so whenever I said, well, there was this kid, and he'd go, and he'd hit the cane on the desk, and he'd say, a kid is a quadruped of the goat species. Okay, you mean children? I went, yeah, boy, I learned that quick. Anyway, it cost me a lot of quarters, though. Anyway, and the coin receptacle right here sat on his desk, and anybody who used that banned word had to cough up a quarter before he left the office, man. Then he had it in class for various reasons, which I'll point out in a second. And he also managed to flummox, schmooze, whatever word you choose, the local car dealer downtown, the Pontiac dealer. He got him to give a car a year, which he raffled off money for a new car every year. So what kid wouldn't want that, So he raised a ton of money to get that pilot project going. He collected various means. Through various means, he got money. If you forgot a pencil in class or a pen, anyone? Anyone? Okay. If you came to class late, if you nodded off in class, can anybody relate? Okay. If you didn't have your paper done on time, anything he could think of, you come in, you better be putting some money in that receptacle. And it went to a great cause. He was a great basketball fan. As I recall, he always sat in the front row. Always sat in the front row at the games. He was a big fan. He loved the Saints. And I'm wondering if maybe that floor of the basketball court, volleyball court, whatever, if that shouldn't be named the Menrad Court or Menrad something. I'm just wondering, okay. Anyway, I'm grateful he's receiving this honor. Thank you for the privilege of standing here on your behalf, sir. And anyway, in his honor, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to promote his goals, which are still ongoing, the athletic program. So in his style, I'm going to say to you, raise your hand if you ever said kid when you meant child. Raise your hand. Okay. If you ever forgot a pen or pencil when you went to a meeting or a class. Good for you. If you ever nodded off in class or a meeting, faculty meeting, whatever. Okay. Okay. If you got your paper or your project done a little late. Okay. Truth out now. So if you did, there's going to be a receptacle at the tables when you leave, and I ask you, no, you don't have to, but if you're feeling a little guilty, in Menrad's honor, maybe $1, a quarter, whatever you got on you, something, just put in there. It's going to go to the athletic program to support that, okay? So I'll leave it to your honor and in his name. And now, if you would, raise your hand, your glass, your wine, your water, your lemonade, And a toast to Father Menrad. Father Menrad, we toast you. No kidding. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Our next inductees is the 2008 women's golf team. So ladies, if you guys want to head up to the stage, I'm going to read your bio. Lauren Simpson, Shailene Moore, Amy Rowland, Stacy Boyd, Alexi English. Come on up. So a little bit about this team. They are the first women's golf team. Come on. They're the first women's golf team to reach the NCAA West Regionals, which they did in 2008. The women's golf team set records that still stand at the time of the induction. They finished third overall in the region, only 2 strokes away from advancing to the NCAA National Championship. Our third place finish was the highest finish ever in school history. They were also the first women's team ever to win a tournament, and they cracked the top 25 as a national ranking. I was fortunate to be the coach of them at the time, and I'll just tell a couple of quick stories. I'm not going to take your favorite story and only believe part of their stories. But as a group, and I see Alexi's not able to be here, they were just outstanding as individuals. And when we won our first tournament, the first day, we didn't play that well, and we were behind a few shots. And I can remember we stayed, we putted, and one of the other teams was going, "Oh my God, we're ahead of St. Martin's. We're ahead of St. Martin's." And there's nothing better than going to a tournament when you got a chance to win. And they came back and won by 25 shots. They were outstanding golfers, each in their own, and they would probably tell you they really didn't need me. Sometimes. Sometimes I'd check in at the turn and say, "Hey, how you doing?" "Great, see you later." Okay, so I believe Shailene is going to go ahead and speak for the team.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you on behalf of myself and teammates and to St. Martin's for giving us the opportunity to represent the women's golf program. It was a privilege to be able to travel and play on prestigious golf courses in California, Hawaii, Arizona, Texas, and Canada. Secondly, I want to thank Coach, who believed in us and our abilities and saw the good in each of us. We were a little high maintenance, but he always managed to make sure we got what we needed to be successful, not only on the course, but off the course. We had a lot of fun competing and growing as individuals. On many occasions, he gave us reminders of how important education was, and I can say that as a team, we all really appreciated that he pushed us in that sense, because at the end of the day, education is the most important. So thank you. I was going to throw in a few examples, but I'm not trying to embarrass Coach too much. So there's a couple times Texas stand out to us. We had this journey every single day we were there. We got lost, and we kept telling Coach, do you know where you're going? Are we going to get there in time? Coach, oh, yeah, I know where we're going. And so after all that, we still had an episode where Coach happened to be in the middle of the fairway somehow, and Amy managed to hit his cart. And so we've had a lot of great experiences with Coach, and I can't say enough about him, because he was always there for us no matter what. And like he said, he never tried to overcoach us or anything like that. He let us be players, and he let us make sure that we were doing what we needed to do. But at the end of the day, he was always there for us, and we really appreciate him, and I can't thank him enough for that. So. As a team, we also want to thank our family members who are dedicated to our success as well. Dave and Jackie Hinden, Jack and Kim Roberts, Ned and Louise Clark, Don and Robin Colton, Daniel English, Robert and Delaney Dalzell, Joanna Minalia, Tim and Jean Pranti, and my husband, Jason Moyer. We appreciate each of you for taking the time to support us throughout our golfing journey. There were hours dedicated to traveling and watching us play, and it never went unnoticed. Lastly, as a team, we can agree that golf has changed our lives for the better. It taught us patience, persistence, hard work, and dedication, but most importantly, character. It is a privilege to be inducted into the Hall of Honor as a team. It solidifies that as a team, we put in the work and remain dedicated to our craft. Thank you so much for this award. We really appreciate all your support.
Good job. I'm going to hug all of you.
Good job. Good to see you.
Oh, man.
Thanks, Gaul.
Hey, were you worried I was going to tell the golf cart story?
You have to go into detail on that one. That one was hilarious.
I will. All right, thank you. So now we're going to induct two into our Hall of Fame. Sam Washington, men's track and field. And Sam's not able to be here tonight. During his 4 years at St. Martin's, Sam established himself as one of the best throwers in GNAC history. Washington holds the indoor school records in the shot and the weight throw. Washington also owns 2 school records in the outdoor track and field. He was a 2-time indoor all-region selection in both the shot and the weight throw, and was a 2-time outdoor all-region selection in the weight throw and discus. He's not able to be here tonight, so could you give him a nice round of applause, please? So our next inductee is Lacey Mcgladeri. Lacey, are you here? Aha, could you come on up, please? Lacey Mcgladeri, softball. Lacey played for the Saints from 2011 to 2014. She ranks among the best in Saints softball history at the plate, placing 4th in batting average at .378, slugging percentage at .553. She was a 2013 GNAC Player of the Year, 2011 Freshman of the Year, and is one of only 7 players in GNAC history to earn first-team All-Conference 4 times. That's pretty unheard of. So I want to introduce to you Lacie Mcgladeri.
All right, I am not one for speeches, so bear with me. I will keep this quick. First, want to thank St. Martin's, the athletic department, Bob, all the coaches and teachers I was able to have a relationship with while I was here. The experience I had at the school is better than I could have imagined. I walked away with a great education, lifelong friends, and was able to be a part of a successful softball team. I also want to thank my teammates that I had prior to St. Martin's as well as at St. Martin's. In most sports, if you go 3 for 10 or 4 for 10, you didn't really have the best day. But for softball, that's a good day. That mental challenge of failing more than you succeed really forces you to build a great bond and a relationship of trust with your teammates. Each of my teammates at every point of my career pushed me to be a better player, a better person, and definitely made me the player that I was. I also want to thank my family. First, my 2 sisters, one who was here, Kelsey, who also played here at St. Martin's. There was 2 years that we were able to play together, and I am beyond grateful that I was able to have my sister as a teammate. And also my little sister, who unfortunately couldn't be here. She spent probably most of her childhood at the softball fields, which is not really where she wanted to be. And then, of course, my parents, who also unfortunately couldn't be here today. They had great timing of getting COVID this week. So they're fine, they're good, but they couldn't be here. I don't think there's anything that I could say that could thank them enough for what they have given me and my sisters, especially when it comes to sports. They gave up probably about 20 years of their life making our sports our top priority, and allowed me and my sisters to play whatever sport we wanted at whatever level we wanted. The time and money that they spent traveling the US to every tournament, took us to every practice, I'm beyond grateful, and none of my success would have came without them. Lastly, I want to thank my fiance, Sean, who unfortunately we didn't know each other when I was here. But ever since he's heard about my softball career, and then when he found out about the Hall of Fame, he has been nothing but extremely excited and supportive. I couldn't have imagined that I would ever receive such a great honor, and I am beyond thankful for everyone who is here, and wanted to also say congratulations to Sam and the rest of the people who are getting recognized today. Thanks.
Hey, congrats. Good job. Can I give you a hug? All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lacey. And hey, congratulations to all of our inductees. Now I would like to have Dr. Roy Hendricks come up to the stage, and he has a few words to say.
Great. Thank you all for being here today. Isn't it great to be here in person? It's great to see how many people have attended or are here. We're not able to do this last year, so it's been 2 years since we've been able to gather for an event quite like this. So I'm excited to see all of you here today. As you know, Bob Grisham has announced his retirement in June. And so we want to do a bit of celebration to Bob for his 37 years of career here at St. Martin's University. Please. Really good, Bob. I know some of you, alumni and student athletes, will recall what this campus looked like in 1985 when he started here at the university as basketball coach. And it was not quite the same as it is today. We did have the Pavillion, a very great gym. And he became our athletic director in the early 2001, somewhere in that range. And you can imagine how that took place. I could see the president, Spangler, telling him, Bob, you're going to be our new athletic director, and no, there's no more budget to work with, but you can make it do. We just win a lot of games for us and do us proud. And I'm certain then that became sort of the legacy of how the conversation must have gone about entering into D2, moving to D2 from NAIA in a brand new conference, the Great Northwest Athletic Conference. And can you imagine coming up and facing all of these other schools, some of them many times larger than St. Martin's University. In fact, 3 or 4 of them 10 times the size of St. Martin's University, and say, we're going to play you competitively in a number of sports, and we're going to do it well. And Bob proved that. He likes a challenge and took that on. And over the years, since I've been here, annually he comes to me and says, we need some more money for the sports program. We need a part-time coach to go full-time. We need more athletic scholarships here. We need. And we've been able to grow the program, and we have many successes to show from it. So to take on a D2 status of this program took someone like a Bob who could, on a wing and a prayer, to be able to say, we can do this and we can do this well. And so here we are today, and we're celebrating Bob this afternoon. There are many accomplishments. You have some on the back of most recent of the program on your tables. On a personal note, I meant this when I said in the press release recently that Bob not only is an athletic director, a coach, a mentor, a leader, but also a friend. Every one of us who've had a chance to work with Bob has gotten to know him as a friend, and indeed, he's always there, and he has a great rapport about himself and how he reaches out to other people that he has met. He's also a connector. He's been instrumental in building, as I said, where we are today. And he's always, for all that he has accomplished, has been recognized as an athletic legend in our region. He is known by all other athletic directors in D2. And in fact, he's one of the longest serving ADs, and maybe even in GNAC now as well, in our athletic conference, which is a true test of his ability to withstand a great deal of change over time. Bob, we want to thank you. I will share with you, when I was driving onto campus this afternoon, I come up Ruddle, and many of you may be aware there's a Christian church there. I forget if it's a Lutheran or Episcopalian that has a big billboard out front, and I always look at the saying that they put out there. And as I drove in this afternoon, it said, "God's not done yet." And that is so true, and I do believe that God's not done yet with you, Bob, and that your next act will be as fun and challenging as this one. So we wish you nothing but the best. My understanding is we have a video that Bob has helped prepare that will take us through the life of his time here at St. Martin's. So let's cue up that video.
Thank you, Dr. Hendricks. So David Crawford over here has put together a video timeline. Looking at the article on my hire, what I remember was the line that said, "I had the task of restoring the confidence of the community and student body in athletics at the college. The program really had hit its lowest point." From the beginning, what's always stood out for me about working at St. Martin's has been the people. My first encounter was a group of people who were comprised of SMAF. If you look in Wikipedia for a definition, you would find SMAF is a group of individuals who are passionate and caring about St. Martin's and about St. Martin's athletics. I enjoyed coaching all my basketball teams. The Hall of Fame team was special. The talent, the atmosphere, it was the best and the hottest ticket in town. The adding of programs over 20 years started in '88 with the adding of volleyball and stopped 20 years later with the adding of men's and women's soccer. Today, 13 athletic programs and over 250 student athletes comprise our athletic programs. When I transitioned to coaching golf, it kept me connected with our student athletes. It allowed me to stay current with our coaches and what they were facing. Plus, I'm just not an office guy. And so with coaching golf, I came away with a lot of good stories and a lot of good memories. When I talk about facilities, in 1985, we had one facility. Moving through the years, we added 5 more facilities. that benefited athletics, benefited our student body, but to have a role in the facility growth on campus was a very rewarding part of this job. I am proud of what our staff, coaches, and student athletes have accomplished with their successes in winning athletic and academic awards, honors, and championships. To me, the latest honor of the Presidential Award of Academic Excellence reflects what our athletic programs are all about. It represents what we've been striving for, and that's raising the bar. What you can see from the photos and the video is it took a lot of people. It took a lot of support to move athletics to where it is today. And along the way, there's been a lot of great relationships and a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone. Thank you. Thanks, David. I thought the simplest way to say thank you to all of you is by being able to put it in a video, because I didn't want to miss out on maybe acknowledging someone. So my staff would probably testify. I've always felt like one of my best strengths was my ability to think on the fly and be flexible. But I would also tell you it's one of my greatest weaknesses, because my staff would say, I always wait until the last minute to make something happen. So, but for me, a lot of times we had to adjust on the fly, and I don't know, I try to get better at that. But a lot of people wouldn't know when I first came to St. Martin's, I actually came here, took a job in admissions. I got out of coaching. I was 30. I'd spent 7 years trying to be a head coach. Came to St. Martin's, took a job in admissions. And my first day at work, my training was they gave me a set of keys, a couple of brochures, a map, and they said, you're going to Owako. So I got in the car and I drove to Owako and I started recruiting for admissions. And then in October, they let the women's basketball coach go. And I said, well, yeah, I spent 7 years coaching. I'll be happy to be the head coach. And so I coached the women's team for 1 year. We had 8 women on the team, and they survived me, because it was my first time being a head coach. There was only 8 of us. It was difficult. And at the end of that year, the individual that was here as the head coach resigned. And I had spent 6 years, Western Washington 3 years, Lewis Clark State 3 years. I knew the conference. I'd been coaching. So I went to Dr. Spangler, and at the time it was Dr. Appalata was the vice president. I said, well, here's my resume, and I feel like I'm ready to be the head coach. And I got lucky. They hired me. And so, like a lot of coaches, I came in and I had at that time, this was small. I mean, it was tough to recruit to. They gave me $5,000 and said, go get some guys. There's some guys sitting right over here with some of the first guys I recruited. Why don't you stand up? Eric, Steve-O, Reggie, Marvin, Brad Urban. And it was tough to recruit because not everybody wanted to come to a small private Catholic college hidden in the trees. And I had recruited to Lewis and Clark State, Western Washington, so I went south. I went to California. I went to the Bay Area, and I started getting guys in. I thought Marvin and Brad were here, but they were also, there they are right there. And Aaron Wallace. So I had a 5-year plan, and each year it was to get better. We hit year 4 and 5, and we won back-to-back 23 games. We lost in the semis at home. Championship game at home. Didn't take care of the home court very well. But those teams, which was the 91, 92, 93 Hall of Fame teams, were special. And at the end of that, I go, well, hey, I've had back-to-back 20-win seasons, but I didn't leave. I liked what I was doing. We were adding sports. I liked the challenge. So I decided, hey, I'm going to stay. Everything was a good fit for me. It wasn't all about chasing what I thought was going to maybe be at the end of the rainbow. So then, Dr. Hendricks alluded to the Division II. One day, Dr. Spangler, and at that time, then it was Dr. Clay Smith, we get in the car, we drive down to Portland. We're going to leave the NAI and we're going to join the NCAA Division II, which I think to this day, even though we struggle sometimes with the dollar portion of it, when it comes to scholarships primarily, when we struggle with that, it was a great move. We became members of the GNAC Conference, which is one of the best Division II conferences in the country. Each year, and initially when we started, we were increasing scholarships. We were adding coaches. So we came back from Portland, and we were an NCAA Division II member. And one of my goals was always, we were the smallest D2 member in the conference. And sometimes I felt like you'd go to these meetings and it was like, okay, well, St. Martin's is here. Yeah, we had to take them in. It gave us a great scheduling model. It rotates around, it works out. But my goal was always to make it where we were a viable and a positive member of being in the Great Northwest Athletic Conference. And the one way that I thought was a really good way to go about doing that was hosting conference tournaments. And that's what we did. We ended up hosting men's and women's basketball, which we're doing upcoming again. We hosted softball, we hosted golf, cross country, and the intent was to bring other conference members, presidents, vice presidents, athletic directors onto this campus to see what we had. And to do it, and when you have a small staff, we have a small departmental staff, those individuals stepped up and got it done. The other thing that makes us really unique is our coaches. They may not be in that particular tournament, like the basketball tournament, but they're going to step up and help out. I was at Western Washington several years ago, and they had the GNAC basketball tournament. And I'm talking to their athletic director, and I said, hey, do you have any coaches helping out? And he just laughed. Hey, now, the volleyball coach isn't going to be here. Track coach isn't going to be here. That's what makes us, I feel, different. Our coaches and our staff just step up, and they get the job done. So during my time here, I've worked for 3 presidents, 3 dean of students, and I want to say thank you to Melanie Richardson, who's been my supervisor 22 years, may feel like 32 for her, because I know I wasn't the easiest athletic director to oversee, and I don't know how many times she would tell me, Bob, did you really think that? No, really. Did you think that? So I heard that a few times, and oh yeah, I thought it was a good idea. So I had 3 different presidents. The first president, Dr. Spangler, and very appreciative. I wish he could be here today. He still comes to some of the basketball games. Very appreciative that he saw something in me that I had the skill set to be able to do the job. And I had a little story for each president. And I think I was about 6 months into the job, and he calls me up to the office, and I have no idea exactly why I'm going up to the office. We make a little small chat, and he says, so last year when you were here, was there a staff member that grabbed your butt? And I looked at him, and I'm like, and he says, hey, it wasn't that great. There were others. That was Dr. Spangler. Then there was Dr. Astolfi, who was here for a very short period of time. He was great for myself in athletics and for the athletic department. Added men's and women's soccer, started the Winning Spirit campaign. And one of the first days I was in his office, he goes, well, why are we playing sports if we're just going to get our butts kicked? He says, why aren't we out here to compete and to win? And that kind of got us going in that direction of being more competitive. So I'm done with basketball now, and I'm coaching golf. And when you go on a golf road trip, you buy groceries. The girls put them in the fridge. You got some snacks. I buy a 6-pack of beer, so I got it in my fridge. And I come back like the next week, and I got a couple of emails from the finance office. Well, I'd used the credit card, and I'd bought a 6-pack of beer. I said, well, how much is it? That's like $7.24. So I write a check, boom, boom, boom. It goes up there. So then about later that week, I come down the hill, going through the gym, and he's going the other direction. It's Dr. Astolfi. I said, well, what are you doing down here? He goes, I just left something on your desk. So I go in my office, and on my desk, there's a card in this little brown paper bag. So the card, I open it up, and he goes, hey, I think you're going to need this more than I do, and he had left me a 6-pack of beer. It was always one of my favorite ones with that. And then Dr. Hendricks. I've been very fortunate, like I said, to work with 3 presidents that understand, I think, how important athletics is in a community and in our local community as far as being on campus. And with Dr. Hendricks, we started to do what I call raise the bar. We were putting more money in athletics. We were doing more with our scholarships, more with our full-time coaches. And that was allowing us to be competitive. 2009, Rob Walker, you still here? Rob Walker, stand up, please. Men's soccer coach, first conference championship was won under Coach Walker, and part of that was getting this going in the right direction where we could be more competitive. And so one of my first meetings with Dr. Hendricks, he asked, well, how are you evaluating coaches? And really, we had gone through a period with so many part-time coaches that it was, hey, basketball, I got 12 on the team, we're somewhat competitive, okay. But we were able then to start to increase our ability to be competitive. And I do say thank you very much for myself and for the department. So we did. We just started putting more emphasis onto, hey, how good can we be? Let's start competing to win for conference championships. The last thing I would say when it comes to Dr. Hendricks is that in my first year or two, I'd walk campus, always was very friendly, always would say hi, but I was like, I don't know what he thinks of me. I don't know if he thinks I'm doing a good job. So I don't know if you're a poker player, but you should be. Because I told people, I walk by and he'd say, hi, Bob, how's it going, everything? And I'm going, God, I just can't get a feel. Am I doing a good job, or what's he think of what I'm doing? So that's my 3 stories about the 3 presidents that I worked. Then I've just got a few stories about coaching basketball, a couple of golf, even though they told one. And, that particular team that was really good, excuse me, Bob Neal was the coach at UPS, and we had a tremendous rivalry. And we were just, couldn't be more opposites. They were kind of the frat guys at UPS, and we were kind of the city guys at St. Martin's. And the teams couldn't have been different or more different in contrast of style and as far as in coaches. But Bob was meticulous in his preparation, and we used to get a lot of in-person scouting. He'd come down to a lot of games. And I was a little looser when it came to games than Bob. So last game of the year, we're playing UPS, big game. He's wound really tight, and I say, hey, man, before the game starts, we're going to give out a seat cushion of the fan of the year. All right, he puts up with it. And we basically build up the hype of who the fan of the year is, and we announced the fan of the year to be UPS coach Bob Neal. And his wife was in hysterics. He just looked at me and shook his head. And his 70th birthday was a month ago. He still has that seat cushion. Another one, to make this thing happen, to me, you, the athletes, coaches, the relationships intertwine. And it takes a lot of volunteers to make it happen. And back in the early days, Adolfo Capistani, my good friend, basically, hey, round of applause, right? No, stand up. Yeah, thank you. Yes, 37 years, an announcer here at St. Martin's. This will be his last year. But back when I first initially started, he taped ankles, he wrote sports information releases, he did a little bit of everything. We're on a plane flying to Cal State Bakersfield to play in a tournament. And we bumped up to first class. We're sitting there, and this guy starts talking to me, and he asked what I did. And I said, well, I'm a basketball coach, athletic director. And he says, well, what's your guy next to you do? I said, well, he's our mascot. Okay. But then, as the trip goes on, we're in Bakersfield. We're playing in a Civic Center. So a Civic Center, they sell beer. And he disappears. You know, we're lugging the old VHS, and I don't know, partway through the game, something dropped down on the floor, and they wiped it up. Well, as it turns out, he'd bought beer in the lobby, found a catwalk upstairs, and he was filming for upstairs, and he got excited and spilt some of his beer down on the floor. And as the game went on, the quality of the video got worse. I guess this would be one of my favorite ones, and I hope Aaron and Christy or Tyler are listening. But, you know, one of the things I miss somewhat is the relationship with coaches. You used to play a game and you could go out and have a beer, and you didn't worry about, hey, maybe I won or I lost or whatever. And this was towards the tail end when I was coaching, and it was a younger guy was at Simon Fraser. And we're like 2 minutes in, and I've known these officials like a long time. And I happen to be talking to the one guy, and I hear this guy yelling at me, and look, so it's the Simon Fraser coach. We're like 2 minutes in. I haven't had any time to complain yet. And I said something to the official, yeah, whatever. Well, game goes on. It's a good game. It's close. It's tight. But I knew what I was going to do if I won. We won. I knew. So we end up winning. And a lot of times, I guess my favorite was it doesn't matter. A lot of times, coaches just blow by. They don't shake hands. You can tell it's just a formality. Sometimes I wonder why the sportsmanship piece of it was gone. But, so he tried to just blow by me, but I knew what I was going to do. I hung on to his hand, and I wouldn't let it go. And he kept trying to pull, and I said, man, you guys played so hard tonight. What a great job. And he kept pulling away from me. I finally let him go. So that's my basketball side. Some administrative sides of things. Brad Hooper. Brad, you're here, aren't you? Yeah. There's Brad in the back. Hall of Fame track and field cross-country coach, okay? Brad, I don't think there's too many coaches I've had during my time period that are more passionate about his sport. And always was willing to go to bat for his sport. Well, he comes in one day, and he's got an envelope with him. So he hands it to me. He goes, I want you to read this. Okay. So I read it, and he basically was going to resign. So I read it, and then I pushed it back, and I says, well, I'm not accepting it. And he goes, no, read it. I'm going to quit. I said, no. You know you're not, Brad. And I just pushed it back. And he ended up staying, which I'm really glad he did, because he was just an outstanding coach for us, and he's a Hall of Famer. I want to give Brad Hooper a round of applause. Ann Adams. I bet you never thought I'd have a story. So, Ann Adams, Director of Career Services. We do a lot of assessment in the world of student affairs. And come on, I'm an athletic director, I'm a basketball coach. Assess? Okay. So we do a lot of assessment. And working with Ann, I would either call her, email her, because I didn't understand this, or I didn't understand how we were doing this particular piece of it. One of the best lines ever. One day she said to me, she goes, you know, Bob, you remind me of the high school quarterback, and I'm the cheerleader that's doing your homework. Yeah. And I'm very appreciative that Mary Law, that you're able to make it here. Can I have Mary Law a round of applause? And that's, Mary was our registrar, and more than a registrar to me and probably a lot of student athletes here. And one quick story on, well, two for Mary, is she used to sit across the way in the middle, and there was one game, she was getting the crowd fired up, and she's running up and down the sideline and doing the waves. I thought that night, I didn't know what was going to happen, but she did the wave. So then we're playing a game, and we used to have one particular official named Bobby Rose. And he was out of Longview, Bobby Rose, longtime official. Mary would sit across in the middle with Dr. Spangler, Jeannie, Dr. Langell was our VP at the time, and they would sit there. And Mary's passion just wasn't for cheering. Her passion was also for letting the officials know when they had made a bad call. So this one particular night, I think there was a timeout or something, and Bobby comes over to me and he goes, so who's the woman over there at half court? And I said, where are you looking? He says, well, over there. And I turned and looked. I said, well, that's our registrar. And he goes, oh. And he just walked away. Never said another word. So, you know, I could tell a few more stories. The girls told my golf story about getting hit in the middle of the fairway, and I tried to tell her she wasn't in the fairway that often, but she got mad at me. She was always in the fairway. But I don't know. I thought I had a shortcut. I don't know what I was thinking. But really, the year I got done, and it was my first year coaching women's golf, we had gone down to Chico, California, and I was in the cart. It was like 75 degrees. I'd driven ahead of them up to hole 9. You know, they're like 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way up. And I'm sitting there, and it's warm. It's 75. Breeze is blowing. I'm sitting back, and all of a sudden, I'm out. I fell asleep. And I can hear people talking as they walk up, and I go, okay, I got to get back on this. So, coaching the women's golf, and I still am. Ann Barr, you can stand up. You're going to be the next and new women's head golf coach. I definitely have enjoyed it until they poke fun of me and tell me how big the font is on my phone. So, I'm going to just say this in conclusion here is, you know, there were some times maybe I could have moved, whether it was coaching or administration. But there was just something about the people, the job, the growth. It never got stale for me. It was adding an athletic program, building a facility. It just never got stale, and it just seemed like fall involved into winter, winter into spring, and then all of a sudden it's summer, and then you go into a new year. Excuse me. So for me, I've just enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the hell out of it. It's just been a lot of fun for me. I'm very proud of the student athletes that have gone through the university. It was always important to me that no matter what we did, maybe athletically, winning and losing, that you could look back and say, I had a great time. I liked my coaches. I liked my experience athletically, academically. This was a great fit for me. And that's what it was all about. What I love about this event is, I know Eric's going to say he would have had 32 points that night if I'd have left him in, but I don't think so, E. But, you know, it's all about sharing the stories. And Herb Moxley, you're no longer the fastest guy out here, dude. Come on. But it's you and being a part of this. I've enjoyed it so much. I'm hung up on the word remiss tonight, but I would be remiss if I didn't recognize my two daughters over here. Graduated from college, yes. My oldest is Nicole, is a St. Martin's alum, currently third year teaching first graders, and Cecilia, she is ready to donate, so when you want to see her. And then my youngest daughter, Taylor, is a graduate of Pepperdine University and works for a consulting agency down in Portland. I just want to say thank you to them because they've seen Dad. Well, you know, you've seen Dad at his best and at his toughest times, and I appreciate it. You guys are great, so thank you. And for me, I'll just finish with this. It's been about relationships. If it sounds repetitive, that's okay, because it's kind of who I am. It's what I've been about here. Being able to be with all of you, I've just enjoyed it. Again, I've enjoyed it immensely. God bless you all. I'm looking forward to whatever my next chapter is going to be, which is somewhat undetermined. And I'm telling you, man, this university right now, athletically and the university in general, is just headed in the right direction. And hang on. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.